This podcast is the sole property of Proud Sports. Our thoughts and opinions are our own.
Yeah. They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
What's up? It's a Proud Panthers podcast. I'm back here with you from teedoffsports.com. Check it out. There's blogs, there's videos, there's other podcasts just like this one, the home for everything High Point University basketball. We're here to talk about High Point's win over Winthrop from Saturday, 89-87. While we're here, let me go ahead and give a special shout out to my Winthrop fans. I know there's a few out there that started commenting on the podcast on social media, so I appreciate you following. But no, seriously, you're going to love some things I have to say. You're going to hate some things that I have to say. High Point fans, probably that's something you guys can share in common. I'm just now, honestly, catching my breath a little bit from Saturday. And honestly, as we jump into this, I'm not even exactly sure where to start because there's so much that we could dive off into from the game on Saturday. But first, I'll say this. We got words from head coach of the Panthers, Flynn Clayman, coming up. And we got to take care of the business. All of the conversation, thoughts, and everything coming up after
High
this.
Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
Back on the Proud Panthers podcast here with you. teedoffsports.com, and then on X, if you want to follow along with me, at Stephen Beck TO, as you see at the bottom of your screen there. If you're streaming this, which you can do on YouTube and also on our website. As I said before, I was too heavily. I got carried away. I did Saturday in this game. I'll say overall, the Big South Conference is probably the biggest winner from Saturday. The league needs this kind of game, and it needs rivalries like High Point and Winthrop have had back and then back again. All the different times that you can have a game that would actually get a lot of commentary. Trilly Donovan was at the game. The Big South needs that to be more relevant. And the past couple years have been really good for the league, but it needs more. It needs more than just one team. You know, I'll say this. Winthrop was High Point before High Point is High Point. I'll try to say that again because even this morning, despite me having some coffee, that seemed kind of confusing. Winthrop, back in my day when I worked with the men's basketball team, it was the team out of the Big South Conference that was relevant and somewhat of a household name after some really good years under Greg Marshall, getting to the NCAA tournament, beating some teams that they shouldn't have, and catching attention from outsiders. High Point is starting to do that as well. But for the league, it needs more than just one of these racehorses to get going. It could be Winthrop, it could be Longwood, it could be UNC Asheville. All of them preferably, because at that point, things begin to be noticed more. I don't know that automatically results in a Big South conference that's not a one bid league. I don't think that's a stretch, but it's still good for cred and for just the general observer to even know that the league exists. So from this game, a 2-point win, High Point beating Winthrop 89-87 on Saturday. The league wins. High Point right now holds an edge because they still only have one loss in the Big South Conference. Winthrop has 2 of those. But depending upon what High Point does later in the week on Thursday against Presbyterian, also a nationally televised game, that could result in some really interesting stuff the following Saturday. As a High Point supporter, I hope it's not a question. And really, ultimately, it shouldn't be. But Presbyterian at home, a nationally televised game, Quentin Farrell, I mean, we can talk more about that later. If, for whatever reason, Presbyterian got to win, what I find interesting is that then that next Saturday, Winthrop is in another one of these games like this. Stress, angst, lots of tension, and that is just before a Big South tournament where High Point is at home either way, working on itself, getting prepped, just a fortunate bye there. Before I give a lot of my comments from Saturday, we do appreciate head coach of the Panthers, Flynn Clayman, taking time with us afterwards. Here was his thoughts after High Point gets the win. The Battles of the Cobain Center, High Point getting a 2-point win this afternoon, 89-87, to at least clinch a share of the Big South regular season championship. First off, Coach Clayman with us. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
I am going to give you an opportunity to really set the table here because, honestly, after that 40 minutes of basketball, I'm tired just watching. That was a tough game. But your team fought, so you have to be at least pleased with that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. I mean, we've been fighting. Other than Gardner Webb, we've been fighting. We've been fighting really since we played them last time. They popped us in the mouth. We thought we were the coolest guy on the block. We thought we could win by just showing up and being cool and, having pretty offense, and we found out. So really proud.
I, as a fan, got carried away just watching that game, admittedly. But then I try to sit for a second and think about the players and the context, the mindset that they have in this game. I feel like you have to feel pleased with that prep going into a conference tournament where you have to win 2-3 games in a row to get where you want to get.
Yeah, you can run through and win game after game after game, but until you get in a game like this for something at stake, you really kind of wonder, and does your team have what it takes when it really gets hot? I'm not even talking for like a regular season game that doesn't have a ton on the line. So we showed a lot of qualities that I'm excited about for the conference tournament.
I'm still blaming Prowler for my mistakes for not getting the full recording last time we spent time together. So I'll ask you again about Cam today because he comes in. I know his story. A lot of High Point fans watch and realize the difficulties he's battled throughout this season. But today there was a stanza where he had a couple of deflections and had some help from Owen to get a shot clock violation. And then he comes in the second half. He knocks down a couple of big threes. Again, his resilience maybe. Could you speak to that?
Is huge. I mean, Cam's a good person. He's been through a lot this season. He's been through a lot in his college career. He's really working on himself, and he wants High Point University men's basketball to be a champion. He really wants that. And I couldn't be more happy that he stepped up in that moment.
Before we got your time, I also thought I would give you a moment to speak to what you have equally helped establish here at High Point University. First off, the only Big South school to win 25-plus games 3 consecutive years in a row. But you've spoken there about Coach Huss giving you an opportunity and getting things started here.
Yeah, on a personal level, Coach Huss just obviously giving me the opportunity to come in right away and being an offensive coordinator and give me a ton of trust when I had never worked for him. I knew him, but I never worked for him, and make me his associate head coach and give me the offense and let me call plays and all that. That led to this. And then, what we both saw, me and Coach Huss, while we jumped on this opportunity so fast was, hey, we can do something special here. Because starting with President Cubain and then the leadership of Dan Hauser in our athletic department, this is a true team effort. It is a true team effort. Like, you don't win 25 games 3 times in a row just by coaches, grinding it out. You need alignment from the top down, and I'm grateful for Coach. I'm grateful for President Cubain. I'm thankful for Dan. I'm thankful for so many special people that are helping build this, and we still have a ways to go. What we want to do, but man, you look back and you say, wow, we literally have like the 3rd most wins in the country the past 3 years. I feel like the luckiest man in the world to be the head coach at High Point.
Well, High Point fans like myself, we are celebrating a solid and great last home win of the season, but don't look fast. Now we got Quentin Farrell and Presbyterian coming up to end the season, so maybe some thoughts on that game looking ahead.
Yeah, I got to look at I saw they lost today, but I don't know if we have the 1 seed locked up or not based off that, because it's kind of like goes by standing and the next team you beat type thing. I think if they, whatever it is, but we're going into that game trying to win. Obviously, the 1 seed is a slight more advantage than the 2 seed. It's less this season. Last year, the 2-7 game was at 6 p.m. This year, it's at 2:30. So you don't have that sort of quick turnaround deal as the 2 seed. So, whatever it is, we're going to – now, here's the thing. Presbyterian, they gave us a game here. They give a lot of people games. He's a really good coach. It's going to be on ESPNU. I don't know the last time they've been on national TV, but I can bet that they're pretty excited for this opportunity. So we gotta be ready to win that game. It's going to be tough.
Well, thank you, Coach, for your time. We look forward to that one on Thursday.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Go Panthers.
Wins all around because it was Prowler, actually, that boogered up the recording. So happy we got the whole time there with Coach Clayman and appreciated him taking that time. I'm going to go a completely different direction than those words and start with officiating. Yep. We're just going to dive off into that deep end early. I don't love having conversations about a game before or after that just hinge strictly around officiating, because honestly, the hope would be, as bad as it could get, that it's bad for both teams so much that it just kind of cancels itself out. And it was bad for both teams. J.W. Lucas, Sean Lineberger, and Jason Page, your 3 officials from Saturday's game, should not officiate. Well, we'll start as a crew in the Big South tournament, but they should not officiate impactful games of that Big South tournament. You got to figure they're probably going to be there working the Thursday games. Anything beyond that shouldn't happen. I just advocated for a Big South that has several ships that rise the tide for everybody in the league and getting cred. You want to shoot that in the foot, you put a crew out like this and make your tournament a joke. Because that's the way these 3 handled a very important game on Saturday. I'm going to go ahead and poke a hole in Winthrop and Logan Duncombe right now. But that's not before I say that, A, it's awesome that Winthrop is a rival of High Point. Takes me back. I love it. I desire this rivalry more than I do Longwood. I mean, Longwood, that's fine. We've had those back and forths. UNC Asheville, I shared a little bit about how close those games were the past couple years. But Winthrop, for me, man, when I was in school and just where this is the rival for me. And I am glad that they, are a good team. It sounds like, from words of Coach Clayman in the media room afterwards, they've been kind to us in prep for the Furman game. They allowed us to utilize their their gym so we could get up shots and get practice before that first game of the regular season that was in Rock Hill. And man, that's really awesome. I'm not going to have those kind of words. I as a rival, I don't like them. I just don't. And I don't like their fans. I don't like all the yelling defensive drills on our home court before this Saturday game. I don't like it. It's a positive, like, just fan kind of hatred, but it is what it is. Logan Duncombe, despite all of what I've just said, is a good basketball player. He is. And his rise from irrelevance to where he is right now is hand-in-hand rivaling Terry Anderson. T5 is my boy on High Point. I mean, I love that dude. And it's weird because a season ago, not exactly knowing as much about him, not knowing his story as closely as I followed it now, seeing the struggles that he had then just from a fan standpoint, watching in the games, it's like, ooh, this dude. But now there's nobody else on this roster I would rather have playing for High Point than T5, because the journey that he has gone from a kid on a side court that coaches were telling Flynn nobody over there is worthwhile watching, to where he is today, which I think is as much of a Big South Player of the Year candidate as Logan Duncombe is. That's a remarkable transformation. And Logan is relatively the same. He was at other bigger schools and just not really influential, kind of buying his time, wasting out the career. Even when he got to Winthrop last year, extremely soft, just, came in and played some minutes, but nothing really crazy or important. And now all of a sudden, he is the kingpin for this team. That's the Holes for the Winthrop Eagles. They're going to go as far as the officials allow Logan Duncombe to play. And Logan finished some tough shots around the rim. He's cleaned up his game where his post play is very good up close to the basket. I say all of those nice things to throw in at the backside that we have never seen something like this in the Big South Conference before. There's never been another player that's been treated as favorable as this one player is getting whistles by officials. Now, I don't know why Winthrop fans flail. Well, actually, it probably comes from watching Logan, because he does a heck of a lot of that. He flails. Oh my goodness, he cannot believe, he's incredulous each time he gets whistled for a foul. The whole team is. The whole fan base is. I watched it Saturday. Anytime a whistle remotely gets called close to any of their important players, it could be Cody Cluett, it could be Logan Duncombe, it could be Rozier, any of these guys. Oh, I mean, it's like they've never seen a whistle against one of their players before. And from that, Winthrop fans, they just debate it. They argue it. That is, as soon as I start pinpointing things about officiating, particularly in the first half of this game the other afternoon, I start getting the mentions. And thanks, Winthrop fans. Shout out to y'all. I mean, I guess you're a fan follower of the Proud Panthers podcast. I love it. Thanks for tuning in. And as I've already stated, I love you because, man, that's what makes these rivalries awesome. But as soon as you start mentioning things about fouls, they go off their rocker. They lose it. Why? I embrace the fact that our High Point team, as a general team, we get to the line, boy. We do. And that is one of the factors to us being successful. And it was under Alan Huss. And so far this year under Coach Clayman, it's the same. If we can get to the line and draw fouls, get the freebies, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you embrace that as a fan base? I don't know. The truth of it is, whether you like it or not, your MVP, best player of your team, also equally a Big South Player of the Year nominee, Logan Duncombe, is getting a whistle that we have not seen in the likes of probably college basketball ever. And he got it again in the first half against High Point the other day. Levels that were just laughable. Jason Page, one of the officials from this absurd crew, I saw him verbally say, "That's too much. That's too much," after calling a foul in favor of Logan Duncombe 3 or 4 different times in the first half. What is too much, Jason? Because you're only saying those comments when you blow a whistle in favor of one person. What's too much? Attempting to be physical with a big dude? There's another player formerly named Drew Pember. Nope. Logan Duncombe tops that. There's another player nationally named Zach Eady. Nope. Logan Duncombe gets more favorable whistles than that dude did. It's at a rate that makes the basketball game almost unwatchable. Definitely where you can't defend it. And Coach Clayman shared as much with media time after this game, basically resolved at halftime to tell his team, you might as well give up a layup. I watched Caden Miller, a freshman, be physical. Yes, I had a Winthrop fan telling me that he was too handsy. I did watch a freshman named Caden Miller attempt to be physical with a big physical center named Logan Duncombe. And I watched him get fouled out in one half of basketball. Because according to Jason Page, a lot of that physicality was quote unquote too much, but only too much for one player. Because I never saw him say that about any of the other whistles he blew. And I never saw him make that similar non-shooting off-ball call that he kept making along with J.W. Lucas. Those two more than Sean. Sean, I respect as a person, definitely his career. Seems like I've shook his hand a few times, seems like a really nice guy. All of them are bad officials, and I can say that just straight up. Should not, again, be together, and I already highlighted where I wouldn't have them be officiating important games in the tournament coming up. But I hate that I've had to spend 12 minutes of this episode talking about a whistle that is just crazy. I've never seen a coach at halftime, because he's already had a player foul out. He's got another one in Yusuf, who either had 3 or 4 fouls. I can't recall exactly. Any big man remotely close to guarding one player is in foul trouble. That's telling you something. And it's not by Logan Duncombe's success or play. It's just because of who he is, a big white dude. Call it for what it is. I had somebody send me today, these 5 players have the highest offensive ratings in college basketball this season per KenPom, I should say. Number 1 is Duke's Cam Boozer. Number 2, Bellarmine's Jack Karasinski. Number 3, Winthrop's Logan Duncombe. Number 4, Caleb Wilson from UNC. And number 5, AJ DeBonsa from BYU. I mean, that is a list. And for Bellarmine and Winthrop to have guys on there, that's something. And as I've said, Logan deserves tons of credit for being a good, solid player that has improved himself. And I acknowledge that. I heard Coach Clayman acknowledge that. If you're a fan of an opposing team and you can't at least acknowledge that, then I don't trust your opinion or thoughts. But that's not the same thing and not the same conversation I'm attempting to have, which is he is getting a favorable whistle, and you either embrace that as a Winthrop fan saying, yep, that's right, that is what he does, he draws fouls, or you're blind. Fouls drawn in this game, 9 for Logan Duncombe. And that is below what his average is. I had shared on the last Proud Panthers podcast that his fouls drawn per 40 were like 9.5. I think I was wrong on that. I think it was up into the 10s. And we've never seen that before. So I do not care to see that in the Big South tournament because that is a travesty. It shouldn't happen. Let them actually play the game. These off-ball ticky-tack, that's too much. That is some bull shiitake is what that is. And that's how I got carried away, embarrassing my wife and my daughters probably from this game on Saturday. But now that I've got that out of my system, and we don't have tons of time left because I try to keep these as timely as possible, the other parts to this is how we actually defended Logan. We did exactly what I encouraged our High Point team to do and is a must. It would be, again, if these two teams meet again in a Big South championship game. That's the only other place they can do it this season. And if that comes to pass, it'll have to be much the same. First thing is you take it to him defensively and offensively. And defensively, if I go this episode without giving credit to both Cam Fletcher and Owen Aquino, then I'm blind. Owen, with his block shots, has ramped up to be a rim protector that is close to what we were seeing with Bodo. And I thought that we had lost something serious there, but Owen, the past, I would say, quarter of the season, has just elevated himself on both ends of the floor, but even more so defensively to a level that I already knew he was a good defender. I didn't think he could take it up, much more than it was. You heard me ask Coach Clayman about one particular little stretch. It came in the first half, and I got to just highlight it again. Cam Fletcher was extended beyond the three-point arc, defending with effort that I have not seen him have at all this season. It could be before the time that he stepped away. It could be after the time where he's come back and seems like he's been picking up his game more and more. But he just was deflecting, knocking the ball away, forcing deflections out beyond half court to the point where he knocked it out of bounds and the clock was on 2 seconds. Winthrop attempted a pass from a sideline out of bounds, a lob into their big boy, Logan, MVP, man. He attempted a turnaround layup that was blocked by Owen. Forced a shot clock violation. I haven't seen probably a better defensive stanza by High Point this year. And while we're on that little bit of conversation, we really didn't force the amount of turnovers that we forced before. Winthrop only had 10 in this game. But we ran everybody at Logan. We took it to him on both ends. The other thing, while we're talking favorable whistles, kudos to the Winthrop players. Anytime Logan was in threat of getting a foul, I saw Dalen Berry pleading with officials, hand up, that's on me, that's on me, that's on me, just pleading for receiving the foul call as opposed to Logan getting another one. Smart basketball. But that's the whole, by the way. I'll go ahead and summarize for Winthrop fans. They're going to go as far as Logan will take them and as far as the officials allow themselves to be inserted into a game that should otherwise be called the same for all 10 guys that are on the floor. If they don't call it tight on guys defending Logan, let them play. This is a different game for even Duncombe, who had 23 points. Because, again, I think we stood back and let him have some easy bunnies late in the game because we just had to keep guys surviving, not getting fouled out. I really was impressed by Caden Miller's time in the first half. I was impressed by Yusuf attempting to stay with him and being physical. That is what you have to do. They would have to replicate that, and any team that's playing them needs to. For High Point, Cam Fletcher deserves my conversation on the remaining couple of few minutes from this game. Cam has had a quite a storied career. And even this season with High Point, I know even myself at a time when he wasn't even at the games, and you're trying to put your own brain in the mindset of his teammates and even the coaching staff and realizing, man, this has got to be something really hard to deal with and figure out. I even question, like, man, is it going to be worth it? Is it easier just to cut tail and run? That really is sad. It's a sad way to look at it. You have to give credit to a coaching staff led by Coach Clayman for working with Cam and trying to work through whatever these different difficulties and maturation process that he needs to go through. And then, Cam, thank you for sticking to it and battling and fighting and working, because I have seen a difference in your game. It hasn't come on the offensive end. You got the wrist injury, probably still dealing with it. It hasn't come as easy. The knockdown 3-point shots in the second half were huge. Probably what won us the game was our 3-point shooting. But your defensive effort and your energy to be involved on that strategy element to our team that is so necessary for our success, it has to be applauded. High Point can again go as far as their defensive efforts will take them. We needed some more turnovers on Saturday. We needed some more deflections. We probably need to again battle harder on the glass. We got out rebounded by Winthrop 41-34. Those things are going to be extra critical as we get into the game with Presbyterian coming up on Thursday and the Big South tournament. I mean, don't forget, Presbyterian has a big man as well that took us a little bit to task when the Blue Hose visited the Quabain Center. And so much of the same tactics and things that I've talked about around Logan the past 2 episodes of the Proud Panthers podcast apply to him as well. The difference is they don't give him as much of a favorable whistle. So you can be a lot more physical and not expect a player to foul out in one half. But we're going to need the defensive side, the things that have carried us starting all the way back at UNC Wilmington. I had a couple of Seahawks fans that were, reminiscing with me over the weekend after Saturday's win, because the Seahawks equally with Takeo Siddle have had quite their own season. And these two teams, looking back now in that exhibition, that's crazy that went to double overtime, number one. And number two, the way that both of these teams have been equally successful in their respective resume seasons, it just, man, that was we didn't realize the quality of a game we were getting back then. So I, as a High Point fan, walk away immensely proud Panther, because we win, at least get a share of the Big South regular season title again, and you win a big rivalry game in a atmosphere that was really special and in a way that should pay dividends, as you heard Coach Clayman and I talk about in the long run. I also asked Rob Martin about it. If you get a chance to watch the media portion on YouTube, it's just good prep for these guys coming into a time of the season where you may not have a tomorrow. And there's going to be a lot of stress and strife, just like we probably saw in Johnson City, last year. So we'll have a follow-up to High Point's game with Presbyterian coming up on Friday. Until then, check out, teedoffsports.com, and we'll see you in the next Proud Panthers podcast.